Dr. Freud will have a field day with me.
It's actually NSA, which is...
National Security Association.
It isn't. It's National Speakers Association, but yeah.
Oh.
So we joke that we're the ones who speak, not the ones who listen in on your conversation.
Oh, I like that. It's funny you mention that because my family's from Maryland, so we have a lot of spies as neighbors. And at Easter, my sister invites the neighbors over, and they're retired, and they get drunk, and they start telling us stuff. With this one lady, I forgot what her name is, but she makes this really great flan. She was from Puerto Rico, and in I think 1960s, she answered an ad in the paper. They wanted bilingual people. And basically, she's the one that listens to the cell phones of the girlfriends of the drug dealers. And that's how they catch them, because the girlfriends get pissed off because they get cheated on, and they're like, he did, blah, blah, blah. And that's how they get them. And when they confiscate their boats and their machine guns, they then use them against them because they have better equipment. They have faster boats than the government. So she's just like, yak, yak, yak. And I'm like, make sure you give her like 2 martinis. I want to hear more stories. But yeah, they confiscated a submarine. It was maybe from here to the wall. It was like 6 feet long. And it was unmanned, but it only fit drugs. But it was kind of like the size of a bathtub. And the thing, like the little radar remote control thing broke, and it just kind of like landed on a beach in Florida. And someone was like, ooh, toy.
What's that? Right now?
Hello, I'm Michael McCarthy, president of the Boston Copley Toastmasters. We are having a Toastmasters show tonight, which is exactly the same kind of show that we have every Tuesday at noon in Copley Square. You're welcome to join us as a guest, but for this particular moment in time, we would like you to come join our show. Right now, most people are not aware fully of what Toastmasters does. It's a 90-year-old organization. It's nonprofit. We are in over 126 countries. And basically, we are designed for you, for the regular lay person who wants to become a better public speaker. And why do people want to become better public speakers? It's not necessarily to become a professional public speaker, which is a fine reason to start. But what if you are invited to a wedding and you have to give the toast? Toastmasters will help you become a better public speaker. What if you just got a job in a corporation and you want to start giving presentations to larger clients? It's very important to become a better public speaker. Anyone who wants to become a better speaker can come join Toastmasters, and we welcome you to visit our club for free, to come as a guest, and we'll teach you how to be a better public speaker. What we're going to do with tonight's show is start off with all of our participants and ask you to come up to the podium and share with us what brought you to Toastmasters, what do you hope to get out of it, and what have you gotten out of it. Anna?
Thanks very much, Michael. I'm Anna Kaufman. I'm president of the Sun Life Toastmasters Club in Wellesley, Massachusetts, and I'm a member of another club as well. I actually heard about Toastmasters from a previous manager of mine, but it's helped me not only professionally but also personally. I've gotten a lot of great opportunities at work to speak, to give presentations, and there's also a leadership component to Toastmasters, which is really phenomenal, and I have definitely seen how that's helped me to become a better leader. I've been asked to lead projects, to lead teams, and to help others grow because of the experience that I've had in Toastmasters. There's a great structure to the way that you learn in Toastmasters, and everyone is there to help each other, which is a really nice supportive environment where we get to get better ourselves and help others grow as well. That's probably my favorite part, is seeing others excel and helping them to find the better speaker that they are and the better leader that they can become. Michael? Or Shelley, come on up.
Hi everyone, my name is Shelley Vu. I want to join Toastmaster. I just want to be a better public speaker. I seem pretty nervous and shy when I stand in public, so I saw Toastmaster on Meetup, and that's part of it. I just want to be a much better public speaker, and I want to be a leader, a better leader also, and for me, that's really my goals. And I just joined Toastmaster about 6 weeks now, and I really hoping to get our Toastmaster just to be a much better public speaker and to be a better leader.
My name is Ian Shadell. I've known about Toastmasters for most of my life due to my family being a part of it. But it wasn't until a couple years ago that I actually started becoming involved. And that was a part of a personal development journey that I began. I wanted to be better at interacting with people socially as well as professionally. I wanted to grow that inner confidence that I had had as a child but had lost along the way. And so it was through this process of reflection, of practice, getting time to be up in front of people, to use my mind, but also let those words come out in a clear and concise way. I went to karaoke and got up in front of people to sing. I went talking around bars and just spoke to random people that I met. And I came to Toastmasters. And it was here that I got the opportunity to actually practice getting up in front of people, whether prepared speeches or unprepared speeches like we're doing today, and really push the boundaries of those skills that were latent inside me but really needed that push to get out and hit the next level. And so thank you for letting me speak. Vin?
Hello everybody, my name is Vin Nguyen, and I just joined Toastmasters 2 months ago. And it has been a phenomenal journey on my personal development. I've always loved dancing, singing, and it's all about the body language, the masculinity that I exude. However, I want to share my stories, share my emotions through the words, through the stories, and there is no better way of doing that by joining Toastmasters. And therefore, I urge all the audience out there who's watching this to join Toastmasters. You will never regret it. It will be the best decision you've ever made. And not only will it help you become a professional public speaker, but also help you communicate with your loved ones, your family member, every people that you meet in your daily life, on the T, at the grocery store, at the bars. Expand your professional and social life. And Toastmasters has given me so much value that I only hope to give back. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Marianne Murphy, and I've been in Toastmasters for almost 8 years now. When I started, I had just been laid off from a job, and I was starting my own business as a professional organizer and time management consultant. And I knew that part of what I wanted to do in that job was to do trainings and public speaking on organizing and time management. I had done public speaking in the past for different organizations that I was part of, but I never had any training on how to do it right. Toastmasters was a place where I could come to get training, specific, step-by-step manuals on how to learn to speak more effectively. In the 8 years that I've been in Toastmasters, I have started speaking professionally now, and I'm actually a member of the National Speakers Association. One of the things as an organizer that really impressed me about Toastmasters from the beginning was that it is very organized. As Anna was saying, there's a structure to the program that really works for me and I think works for everyone. So now that I've been in Toastmasters for this long, I still keep coming because it's an opportunity for me to practice my speaking. I still get feedback from people in the audience, and it still is really helpful to me. So I'm with all of you in terms of it being a great value and something that really makes a difference in your life, as well as it being a great place to meet people. Michael?
Thank you, Marianne. I started Toastmasters about a year and a half ago. I was flying down to Florida to see my parents, and I was reading one of the many self-help books that I like to read, and this one asked a question. If you had a blank slate for a career, what would you fill it in with? And I thought, oh, I would teach people what I know, inspire people. I found that I had a strength I was not aware of, that I can explain complex concepts very simply. People understand it. I did not know it was a strength until it was pointed out to me. However, I was a baker at the time. I invent food products for brain function. I thought that's really not the job that would be on my blank board. So my New Year's resolution when I got to Florida, I said to my mom, I'm going to change careers. I'm going to become a professional public speaker. I'm going to teach people how to be happy, how to do startup businesses, how to become a balanced entrepreneur using mind-body medicine. And joining Toastmasters has allowed me to become a better public speaker, network, and start to meet those people. And in 2 weeks from now, I have an interview with the Jack Canfield Group. We'll see what happens. So now we're going to move into the meeting portion. Our meeting today is going to be split into two sections. The first will be a prepared speech. The rest of it is going to be table topics, where basically we toss out a random question to the audience. They don't know what the questions are. I don't either. I haven't looked at them yet. So when I announce the question, people in the audience are going to raise their hand, come up and give a 1 to 3 minute off-the-cuff speech, which allows us to think quickly and to see how fast can you organize a speech, because you never know when a TV camera is going to pop into your face and you have to start talking for the television. So for our first prepared speech is from Marianne Murphy, and Marianne is a professional organizer and time management consultant. She is going to be talking about how to manage all of the time in your life. Presently, Marianne is a member of 2 Toastmasters groups. She's also the Vice President of the National Speakers Association New England chapter. So please help me welcome Marianne with her speech, Young at Heart. Marianne?
Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? It's true. You can still enjoy your life no matter what your age, as long as you keep a positive attitude. Here is how I know that. 3 months ago, my father, Ben Murphy, turned 104 years young. This is him with one of his buddies from the fire department where he worked 50 years ago as captain. They still come to visit him because although he has problems with hearing and vision and balance, even swallowing, he has a pacemaker and an artificial hip, he's still enjoying his life. He still lives at home, and he seems determined to live out that dream of keeping young at heart. 4 years ago, when he turned 100, we played him that song. And he seemed to take it as a personal challenge when he heard these lyrics. For if you should survive to 105, think of all you'll derive out of being alive. Really? 105? Does that seem like a reasonable goal to any of you? When Frank Sinatra first sang that song in the 1950s, that line was hyperbole, extreme exaggeration used to make a point. But now my father, and many others like him, are on track to reach that goal and even surpass it. Living to be 100 or even more is becoming more and more common. But when my father was born in 1911, his life expectancy was 48 years. He's now lived well over twice as long as was expected for him to live. How much time do you suppose you have left? How we manage our time is important, because none of us has any idea of how long we actually will have to accomplish our goals. Sometimes I think we treat our lives as just a series of things to do and maybe goals to accomplish. And having goals is important. But learning how to enjoy the little moments in our lives is just as important, especially as we get older. My dad has macular degeneration, a vision problem. So he hasn't been able to read for several years now, and he loved reading. With his hearing problems, he also has trouble listening to the radio or enjoying television unless he's practically on top of the set and he has the speaker pointed directly at his good ear. But he loves just sitting by the window and soaking in the sun. And he loves telling jokes and stories to anyone who will listen. He has health aides now who come in every day. And eventually one of them will ask, "Mr. Murphy, are you comfortable?" And he'll say, "I make a nice living." He's learned a lot in his 104 years, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. Maybe that's the key to keeping young at heart. People always want to know the secret to living so long, and he'll think about it and say, "Just keep breathing." George Burns, the actor and comedian who himself lived to be 100, had a great line that my father also likes to use. With cigar in hand, George Burns would say, "It's good to be here. Of course, at my age, it's good to be anywhere." How many of us can say that line and really mean it? It's good to be here. Now, I have to admit that I don't always appreciate my father's sense of humor. There are times when I am telling him something really important, and I would prefer a more serious response. But I also have to admit that laughter is more life-affirming than pity. And a sense of humor can get you through a lot of life's toughest trials. 30 years ago, when my mother was struggling with Alzheimer's disease, my father was devastated. He couldn't understand why it was happening or how he was going to survive losing the woman he loved a little bit more every day. I was a social worker at the time, and I urged him to go to a support group and get some help. After the first meeting, I asked him, "How did it go, Dad?" And he said, "Well, it was pretty good, but the people there were all so serious. One woman was crying about her husband. So I told her the joke about the 3 Irishmen, and she laughed." He told a joke to a woman who was grieving her husband's loss. But that's what kept him in positive spirits. He realized by going to this meeting that he wasn't the only one with problems, and it brought him comfort to know that he could lighten someone else's burden with his sense of humor. Are you able to keep that kind of positive spirit during your toughest times? I know it can be tough. Recently, I realized that singing is something I do that can lighten up the world a little bit. So I'm trying to follow my father's example and do a little bit more of that. My father is not perfect. Even he says that he's no hero. He's just lived longer than most people. But we know that it's more than that. He may not be the most sensitive guy, but he makes people laugh. He may not pay as much attention to me as I would like sometimes, but he helps me put my challenges into perspective and realize that in the long run, it's all going to be okay. He may or may not make it to 105, and I wouldn't bet against him, by the way. But every day, he provides an inspiring example of how to enjoy the journey all along the way. None of us knows how long we'll live, but no matter what we encounter. I think my father's life shows that all our years can still be fun and meaningful and engaged with other people. And here is the best part. You have a head start if you are among the very young at heart.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for such a wonderful story. Well, now we're moving into the table topics portion of our meeting where we all get to participate. And I have a list of lots of interesting, potentially tricky questions. The table topics part is fun because you don't know the questions, neither do I. Michael doesn't either, but I don't know, maybe he's been cheating in the meantime. I'll pick a couple questions. Hopefully we'll get a few people to come up and tell us what is on their mind. If you don't love the question, you can talk about something else, but try to fit it in within the question. And it's a chance to speak off the cuff, and this happens all the time. We get pulled into meetings, at a bar, at a soccer game, anywhere at all. You get asked something, and there you are. You have to answer. So here's a great opportunity to practice. And for those who are watching, think of what you would say. Let's begin with age-related question that's consistent with Marianne's theme about her father, almost 105. I'm rooting for him. If you could live to 105, what do you hope that you could accomplish? Bing, come on up.
If I could live to 105, well, I know that there are close to 200 countries in the world, or even more. I could be wrong. However, I would love to spend 105 years of my life on this earth to each year visit a different country. Not only visit a different country, but try some new food, make some new friends, expand my network professionally, socially, and also film myself talking in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, in front of the Cultural Tower in Warsaw, Poland, on soccer fields in Kampala, Uganda, or on the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Anywhere in the world, I would love to film myself standing right in front of a beautiful landscape and talk. And then later on in my life, I would love to rewatch those moments and see how I've grown as a man and how I have progressed along my journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bing. I hope you get a chance to do that, whether it's hopefully sooner than you get to 105. Anyone else want to share what they would want to do before they turn 105? We already heard about Marianne's father's story. We heard about Ben's story. Ian.
Thank you, Anna. If I could hit that point, that 104, and watch myself just tip the edge into 105, what would I want to look back on? I would want to look back on a life full of people, of smiles and joys, of sharing time with people. For all of my life, even as a small child, the most important thing to me has always been the people who were close to me, the moments that I spent. I would chase those moments of joy that you have when you just have a night that was unexpected but glorious. You spend time with friends and you follow an adventure and you don't know where it goes, but somehow you got there and you learned along the way. I would want to look back on a lifetime full of those moments, moment to moment, adding up to what has become a great life. And of course, I would hope to learn a great deal along the way. And above all, I would hope that my time here, whether short or long, has added to the people around me, has given something to those who I've called friends, even those who I've called strangers. I would hope that my life has meant something to some people, and that I have given a part of myself to making the world a little happier, a little healthier. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Ian. If I could live to 105, I would probably combine both of your answers and do traveling, make sure I'm spending time with people that I care about, lots of things that are important to me. Let's focus on the earlier part of our lives now and share a childhood memory that's important to you, that you think about on occasion, that has stayed with you, one that hopefully our audience members are thinking about theirs. Shelley, come on up.
Hi, my name is Shelley Vu. I think my most regret and thinking about most is my childhood in the Netherlands. I have a best friend. I think we do a lot of things together. Even since I come here to United States, I learned know a lot of friends, but it's still not the childhood that I have when we're growing up. We've been best friends since 12 years old. We do everything together. We do naughty things, we do fun things when we're growing, like childhood, like we do bad things like kind of like one ride on a bicycle, and then I probably stand on the back and then grab some peach or some plum, and then we run and then we get chased, and we do really fun thing together. But I think I went back to Holland and we talk, and both of us feel the same way. We wish we can go back to time. She's married, she has 3 kids. I'm married, I have 3 kids also. I'm going to expect another one. We'll have 4. But we always, I think between her and me, we always think of each other, and we just wish that we can go back to time again so we be able to spend time together and we can talk more. I think most of the time when we get back, we always have the kids and they always, mommy this, mommy that. We really cannot really spend a lot of time together as like a few days together. So that's what we're hoping for in the future, that we can do business together and at the same time we can go back to childhood moment. And that's pretty much the most important thing in my life is my best friend Huong. We always spend time together as a childhood. That's my most childhood that I remember.
Thanks, Shelley. I hope that your children will have similar experiences and be able to find some friends that they'll have fun with also. And congratulations on your upcoming. Any other childhood memories, or should we spare? All right, Marianne, come on up.
When I was very young, I think between ages 3 and 5, maybe 3 to 6, we had a summer cottage at Lordship in Stratford, Connecticut. Stratford was the next town over from where we lived, which was Bridgeport. And we didn't have a lot of money, so it was kind of shocking to me that we ever actually spent this time at this cottage. But on the front of the house, there was a sign that said Murphy. So it felt like it was really our cottage, but it just happened that we were renting from another family named Murphy. But we felt really proud that it had our name up there all summer. When I was 5, it was my favorite time of the year, being right across the street from a beach, and I just loved it there. I had a lot of friends there. We had a parade every summer. It was really fun. But one year, we were sitting at the beach, and my father was reading the paper, and he saw that they were going to build a new highway directly through our house back in Bridgeport. And there was a whole story about how they were going to take properties by eminent domain, and we had no choice about it, but that there would be appraisers who would come out to evaluate the value of the houses, and they would give us whatever they decided the house was worth. So my father closed up the paper, packed up all of us and said, we're going home, and we're going to tear down all the wallpaper on the going up to the second floor because it was kind of a wreck, and he thought the appraisers were coming the next day or the next week or so. So in August, the hottest weekend of the summer, our last week that was supposed to be at the beach, we came home and spent the entire weekend stripping wallpaper off the stairway, which was 3 stories tall. I'll never forget that. And it was hot, it was horrible. And I missed being back at the beach. I wanted to be back at the beach. The worst part of it all was that it took 7 more years before the appraisers actually came to look at the house and for them to take our house. So by then we had to repaint again anyway. But it was an interesting memory.
Thanks, Marianne. One of my favorite childhood memories wasn't quite as manual labor intensive, but it did involve summers. We used to go down to Cape Cod every summer with my grandmother, and my mom would come for a couple days when she could get off work. But we had a schedule. My grandmother and I had a very structured schedule. Monday was mini golf. Tuesday was ice cream. Wednesday was, what else was there? Probably mini golf again. We alternated between mini golf and ice cream and whatever other bumper cars or other fun things that I could get into there. And of course the beach every day. So very structured schedule, but it was a lot of fun. And those are times that I wish that I could go back to. Now I make my own plans to go to Cape Cod, but all right. Let's move on to a little bit more philosophical questions. Is there such a thing as perfect? Does perfection exist? Michael.
Thank you. As a recovering perfectionist, I would say no, there is no such thing as perfection. And here's why I feel that way. All the perfectionists that I know, myself included, obviously try to get everything perfect. However, I have found in my personal experience that by being a perfectionist, I'm actually making more mistakes, making more failures than most people because I'm trying to control, and I can't. I can't control anything. Except perhaps my response to certain situations, that's about it. Once I learned that I can't control so much is just up to the fates or just random, then I realized perfectionism isn't perfection. It's really missing exactly how life works. So is there any sort of perfection? No, because if you get rid of your perfectionism, then you're going to be late. You're going to get answers wrong on the tests, and it's still not perfect. However, you might have greater peace of mind than the perfectionist who is curious why they're so unhappy, and you just sit there like, yeah, I got to be on the exam, but I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm trying to be that person. Thank you.
That's a great mentality to have. And as Marianne mentioned earlier about Toastmasters, she keeps coming back, as do I, after almost 3 years, and a few of us have been involved for a couple of years. Every time is something new, and you're never going to be the perfect speaker, you're never going to be the perfect leader, but you can take steps to get better and better along the way. We often criticize ourselves, we often tend to find flaws, but my question is, what do you love most about yourself? We don't talk about this enough, but I'd like to pose that question and hope someone has some things that you love about yourself. I would be happy to start if no one is jumping out of their chairs. I love the fact that I am comfortable in situations like this. It took me some time. Toastmasters has definitely helped with that. But I am comfortable speaking to people. I'm comfortable talking about my experiences. And it's something that I've had to learn and I've had to practice. but it's gotten me to a much better state of mind, as Michael mentioned, better peace and better spot where I can be truly myself around people that I know and people that I don't. I'm sure there are things that we all love about ourselves. Whether we want to share them or not is something different. Thing, come on up.
Thank you, Anna. The thing I love about myself, and I'm probably most proudly of, is the daily habits that I've established for myself, whether it was during the school year or during the summer right now. I would wake up every day and spend 11 minutes in silence to meditate and look at a point on the wall and keep my eye focused. That way I feel like I can look someone straight in the eye and share my emotions as well as let them into my life as well. After that, I'll take a quick cold shower, have a protein smoothie, and then go to the gym, work out. After that, I'll hop on the T, spend 30 minutes of my commute time to indulge myself in the knowledge that I could grasp from the books on my Kindle. When I go to class, I'll try to focus. If I can't, I'll be on my computer, LinkedIn, and trying to reach out to professionals outside in the world. And when I come back at home, I'll have my spinach omelet for my mind, for my body, my soul. And then when it's 11 p.m., I'll remind myself that it's time to go to bed. It's time to get your 8 hours of sleep, to wake up the next day feeling energized, positive, and wanting to share your values to the world. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ping. All right, since we don't have any more takers for what we love about ourselves, I know everyone has something. If you could choose one book as a mandatory read for all high school students, which book would you choose? I'm trying to rack my brain, remember what I had to read in high school. Clearly wasn't very memorable. But if you could choose a book that all high school students had to read, what would you choose? Ian.
I would choose a book that I, in fact, had to read as a young child. It was my favorite book for most of my life and is still in the top 3 books of any book that I've ever read. That book is The Giver. And the reason that I love that book so much, on top of just being a fascinating view at a different world, it gave me an appreciation for what life is for me and what life could be. In the book, The Giver, you are looking at a story of a world where the emotions and the passions of life have been stripped away. Even the very color of my shirt, of your shirt, doesn't exist. We all see the same bland world. We all live the same bland lives. We are the same. And it is through this story that I was able to see a glimpse of just how powerful and important our differences are. The things that give us that emotion and that passion. It can cause very destructive things, anger, frustration, war. But at the same time, it is those things that allow us to rise above it, to bring love, heart, to have that passion in ourselves that brings us to do greater things than we did before. Not just to stay where we are and continue moving at the same pace, but to ask ourselves what could be better, what could be greater, and to actually have that inner drive to push us there. And so for those reasons, and I'm sure many more, I would choose to have The Giver a mandatory book at schools. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Ian. I did read The Giver. I don't know if it was for school or not, but I agree that it is a fantastic read. Looking ahead a bit, what is your number one goal for the next 6 months? Next 3 months, next 6 months, whatever you pick. Next week, maybe even. I have a few to-do list items at work that I need to get done in the next week, so those are my goals. What are your goals for the next few months? Marianne?
Thank you so much, Anna. Well, one of my goals is to get a speaking demo video completed. I've actually had one recorded. I did a demo day with the National Speakers Association, and now it's in the process of being edited and trying to figure out what to keep and what not to keep in there, and how to brand myself with that video has been a challenge for me. And I think part of the reason it's been such a challenge and that it still keeps being a goal for me is that I'm also a perfectionist. And it's a real challenge for me because I think it has to be the perfect video or else it's no good. It's not good enough. And I actually have something written on the top of my things to do list, which is good enough is better than perfect. Good enough is better than not done. And not done is what happens very often to us perfectionists. So that's a big one for me, is to get that video done, get it up on my website, and be able to put myself out there as a speaker who is able to get things done and able to help people on their own time management and organizing goals.
Thanks very much for sharing that with us, Marianne, and we wish you luck with that, and hopefully you'll get it done and get it done well. That's it for my portion of the table topics. Thank you very much for answering my interesting questions. Hopefully you had a bit of fun, and hopefully our audience members had some thoughts of their own. I'm going to hand it over to Michael for some more intriguing questions.
Thank you, Anna. I'm actually bursting to answer one of the questions that you had, which was a book that you would assign to students in school. This is also a book that you, the viewer, I suggest read. Anyone who has ever been afraid or had anxiety of any level, there's an incredibly good book. It's very old. It's by Dale Carnegie. It was written in the 1930s. It's How to Stop Worrying and How to Start Living. The book was so effective in helping me get rid of my anxiety. It took me a year to read the book because I would read one chapter. I would try it. It would work for months. And then I would go back again when I had another challenge that I needed dealing with. That next chapter was so effective it took me months before I needed to pick up the book again. But in a nutshell, it basically says if you're worried about something, either get rid of it if you can't control it. If you can, do something about it. Worried about that exam? Study. It's simple. When you worry and procrastinate, that's the first thing you should do. Just get it out of the way. That's the book in a nutshell, but it's so incredibly wonderfully written. And the fact that you have all these old terms that are about 100 years old, but they still apply today. Everything in that book from the 1930s still applies today. And I would recommend you, your friends, and anyone watching the show to check it out. I love table topics because I like to give the really hard philosophical questions. I'm also known for just picking on people who don't raise their hand fast enough. Here's how I'm going to choose you. If you make eye contact with me, I'm going to choose you. If you avoid eye contact with me, I'm really going to choose you. So here comes the first one, and your body language will tell me. How have you sabotaged yourself in the past 5 years? You look a little awkward and you're nodding yes. Anne, you're it. Welcome.
Well, I have, for most of my life, not been perfect. You may have guessed that. I doubt you're perfect either. However, one of the ways that I have been imperfect is having this inner battle I have, as some Buddhist monks would say, two wolves within me. And the wolf I feed is the one that grows and gets stronger. Well, one of my wolves has at times been laziness. This internal blockage to actually getting something done. That can be mixed in with depression, with anxieties and worry. There had been times in my life where I've had daunting, overwhelming projects, and through procrastination or an inability to conceive of what steps to take in order to accomplish this goal, I would just get locked up. It's like my whole body and my mind is just in a prison, and I don't know which direction to go. A part of my journey has been to try and overcome that, to push myself beyond it. And one thing that I've learned is that when you have a fear, a concern, sometimes people might be walking into a bar or a store and they want to talk to somebody, but they get that fear inside of them. They're scared to go up and talk to them. And it's that moment, that one moment where you say, oh, no, they look busy, I don't want to talk to them. Or, oh, I'm not really wearing my nice shoes, so I don't think that's probably the good time to go do that. In that one moment, you have a choice. You either do it or you give in to these worries and concerns, these excuses that you make. And so in that one moment, the more of those moments that you choose to go, you don't have time to think. You don't have time to worry. You just do it. And so I'm trying little by little to train myself when those things come up and I want something. My heart, my head says, oh, I should do this. No, don't think. Just do it. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Ann. The next question, I've already chosen who's going to be the speaker, and it's going to be Mary Ann. What have you done in the past and you never got caught? We've all done something, Mary Ann.
Well, I can't think of anything that I would be willing to share on television. Perhaps you can all identify with this. If I haven't gotten caught so far, why would I give myself up to all of you today? So I don't think I'm going to be answering that one very directly. What else could I say about it, though? But it is interesting, actually, with the last question that Ian responded to. I think it's interesting to see how much people are willing to share and to open themselves up in table topics or at any other time when you're speaking. And I think here's a learning moment that about Toastmasters, for example, that you can say pass, and you don't have to answer every question if it doesn't feel right to you or if you don't have an answer for it. And that's important too, that there are boundaries. I used to be a therapist, and it's important to know what your own boundaries are in what you do share with other people, and to respect other people's boundaries when they say, no, that's not a question I'm going to respond to. So I really can't think of anything, because I'm a good Irish Catholic girl, and so I haven't done that much that I have to be ashamed of. Although you didn't say it had to be something shameful. It could have been, I didn't get caught doing something wonderful either. But that's the point, I guess, that I would make today, is that it's okay to say pass, and so respectfully, pass. Michael.
I didn't know she was a therapist. Of course you were going to get that. That was a very good response. We'll get you, though. We'll get you with the next question. Next, you have an opportunity to change the course of history. Who would you speak to in the past And what would you ask them to do to change the course of history? Shelley. Welcome to Table Topics. I'll say it again. You have the opportunity to change the course of history. Who would you speak to in the past? What would you ask them to do to change the course of history?
This is going to be a hard one. I think my brain is not really think of anything right now. Sorry, I'm kind of like froze right now. Can I pass on this?
You're allowed to pass.
I think I want to pass because I cannot think.
Okay. Let's go to our next question. What is the biggest obstacle that stands in your way right now? Bin.
The biggest obstacle that I have right now is actually this podium right here. Because I wish I could be more engaging to you audience. I wish I could reach out my hand. And you'll grab it, you'll look me in the eyes, we'll shake hands, and I'll ask you, hi, how's your day going? And we'll have a wonderful conversation, and if it goes well, if you're a female, we'll go on a date. If you are a gentleman, I'd love to be your gym buddy, your wingman, or someone you can come to when you have problems. Or in this room right now, I would love to get off this thing, the apple crate, and go around and smile and look at everyone and be close, but also respect your space and suck in your positive energy and also give you my positive energy, and then we'll vibe wonderfully. So that's my obstacle right here.
Thank you, Ben. And most people in TV land don't realize that all the inspiration that you're receiving tonight has been standing on top of an apple cart. It can happen anywhere. Our next question is going to be for Anna Kaufman. What do you sometimes pretend you understand that you really don't?
Thank you very much, Michael, for such a challenging question. Well, I sometimes understand certain people when they talk, and other times I don't. I had the opportunity to live abroad in England, and it was a fantastic opportunity. I absolutely loved it. My work sent me over there for about 6 months. And it was great. I got to travel a lot, got to see a different part of the world, but the accents were tough. Now, I was raised in New England, grown up here, lived here for pretty much my whole life, and I'm used to a bit of the Boston accent, but also just the New England kind of American accent. When I was in England, I worked with people from England, people from Scotland, people from Wales, people from Australia, all over. And I had to really focus a lot of mental energy into understanding what they were saying. And I was essentially the only American in the office. So I would kind of nod and smile and pretend like I knew what was happening, and then later on ask my boss, what does that mean? There were words like sarnie, sandwich, lorry driver is a truck driver, all kinds of expressions, words, phrases that I had never heard. And a couple of them have stuck with me. A couple of them are really fun. A few of them are not safe for television. But it was a challenge, but a very interesting one to hear different accents, to try to interpret them. I got to know my coworkers very well, and it was great to be able to get to a point where I didn't have to focus as much mental energy on actually understanding them. But that was one point in time where I had to nod and smile and pretend like I knew what was happening. Michael.
Thank you, Anna. I never knew that sarnie meant sandwich. I thought it was like snarky or something like that. It looks like this is the end of our show. Thank you all for playing. I really appreciate it. I would like everyone out there in TV land to please Google Boston Copley Toastmasters. Be a guest Tuesdays from 12 to 1. Just show up. We're also can be found on meetup.com, and just send us an email and come be our guest, come be a better public speaker, and we would love to see you on this show. So thank you for coming, and while we have a few minutes left, let's go through our last question. If the answer was yes, what would the question be? Ian.
This is a great question. I recently asked somebody this: if you couldn't fail, what would you do? Well, if the answer is yes, the question is, will I be a success? Now, what I choose to do with that is open. But anything that we do in our lives, anything that you've tried to do, anything you're trying to do now, it can be tough, and it can really put you out there. You're vulnerable because you're pushing yourself beyond where you wanted to be, where you were comfortable being. And knowing that you cannot fail, there's no more fear in doing exactly what it is that you want to do. Right now, I'm going through a lot of life transitions, and it's hard to try and juggle everything. It's hard to know that everything will work out at the end. But every day you keep pushing, and if you know in your head that no matter what happens, tomorrow you can get up and keep going at it, then you can't fail. Whether it goes well, whether it goes poorly, if you know that you're going to keep making steps, then all you have to do is keep stepping, and you will not fail. And the answer is yes. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Ian. The last time I gave that question at Table Topics, the person who answered it gave me a trip up, and I actually liked his answer. He said, I don't want the answer ever to be yes, because then I'll stop trying. And perhaps that's why you want to become a member of Toastmasters, because you can always become a better speaker. Everything can always get better and better. So thank you again for coming tonight, and we hope to see you again. Take care. That's it. I kept saying we're ending, so we're done. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Everybody have fun?
Yes.
We all know each other a little bit better.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for coming. Hope you come again.
Thanks for setting it up.
Sure, my pleasure.
Have you actually been doing this consecutively on a...
I think this is the 4th or 5th show that we've done.
I got to see one video of Anna doing it, one of the last couple of shows.
Oh, cool.
But I didn't know how continuous it
Well, yeah,
was.
because you sent the YouTube video and I sent it to like everyone that I knew.
Oh, there you
The whole
go.
world.
There you go. Well,
Pretty much.
I'd love to get on a schedule where we do it every other month, just like have it set up. I really thought it was helpful to have Mary Ann give a full speech so people can see like the full color.
I didn't realize that we're doing that. I think it would be nice to have even a speech and an evaluation, maybe even.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause-
the